County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today's date is Friday, November 24th, and we're coming to you from the Rising Eagle Studios here at the Warrior Healing Center in Sierra Vista, Arizona. I hope everybody had a nice, happy Thanksgiving. I know I did. We got to spend it with a bunch of family. We're very thankful for that. Today's special guest veteran is Frank Palma. Frank, thank you so much for coming up and joining us today. You come all the way. You join us all the way from Douglas, right?
Yes, sir.
And how was your Thanksgiving?
Well, it was pretty quiet. We got to spend it with my mother up in Tucson. She's up there and she's in a assisted living facility. So we don't know how much long she's going to be with us, but we decided we we're going to spend it. All my siblings and grandkids with her. So
that is really cool.
We had a real good time with her.
It's that family spending time together, family, that quality time.
Yes, sir. I think that's what Thanksgiving is all about. Spending it with the family.
It's my favorite holiday.
Oh yes.
Even more than Christmas.
Yes, sir.
So Frank, like I said, he came all the way up from Douglas, and we met him when Arizona at Work and a bunch of other organizations, including the Warrior Healing Center, had gone down and had done a what do they call it down there? Community resource fair, or was it a dust off?
That's exactly what it was, like some type of fair for the veterans.
Right, and they had never done something like that in Douglas before, and so that's how they got to meet you, and then we got to talking. You and Kathy did, and she said, "Oh yeah, he would be a great person to interview because we can talk about the Wall of Faces." Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir. It's an exhibit, museum type exhibit that we created up there.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that before we get started into your interview, real quick?
Basically, back in 2012, I believe it was, President Obama signed a proclamation saying that we need to honor our Vietnam veterans since we didn't get a homecoming.
Right.
He decided to sign that proclamation and saying for the next X number of years we're going to honor our veterans because of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War was coming up. So the community got together, and a few of my friends decided to get together and go out and ask the community, look for veterans, try and get some information and say, hey, who out there has served? We need to get this information together, photos, and what we did is, or what they did, is they went through the high school annuals and got the pictures, the photos of all the veterans, and cut them up and started putting them up in the wall.
Oh, wow.
Panels and a little bit of information as to what services they were serving in, what service they were serving in, what year, and basically Vietnam, because that was basically a Vietnam program.
Because believe it or not, when people think of Cochise County, they think mainly of Sierra Vista as being like the big veteran community and stuff like that. And Douglas actually has quite a big veteran presence there in their city as well.
Absolutely. I was kind of shocked and surprised at the number of men and women that served from that small community,
Mm-hmm.
And the longer we keep going with this program or exhibiting the Wall of Faces, we come out with more. So and then we created a Purple Heart Room. Again, we've identified over close to 300 Purple Heart holders from that community.
So if somebody were to come to Douglas and wanted to go and see this exhibit, that sounds like it's very moving and very honoring to our military service members there. Where would they go for that, and what are the hours of operation?
It's located in the historical building of the Gadsden Hotel.
In the Gadsden Hotel?
Gadsden Hotel. Back then when we started, We started at the government building, which was a room donated by the city of Douglas and the county. And we set up there. That's where it was originally set up. We were there for, I can't remember how many months. And then they told us that we were, basically they were, we had to clear the building. And so what they did is the Historical Society up in Tucson, the U of A, they have a historical museum up there. They decided to take it up there. And so we had it up there for like 6-7 months or maybe longer. And then we brought it back to Douglas, and then we didn't know where we were going to set up because we didn't have a facility.
Right.
The owners from the Gadsden Hotel, at the time, Manel Lopez and Florencio Lopez, they decided, hey, we have a room if you guys need to display this. And so we cleaned it up, we painted it, put carpet on, and we started exhibiting the panels that we had set up. And then we started getting uniforms, we started getting more information, more veterans or families started coming in with their relatives having had served in Vietnam.
Okay.
So that it just grew and grew and grew, and it's still growing.
Wow.
But the other operations are, I'm usually there as a volunteer from on Thursdays from 11 to 3. There's other volunteers different times of the week. But we have a number that you can, or you can just call the Gadsden Hotel, and they can put you in contact with us.
Okay.
We do have information as the hour operations, but any time of the day, any time of the week, we can open it up and have visitors come in. We've had visitors from all over the world come in. Very touching.
If you could get us some more of these business cards, if you have them available, we can put them in display out here and help promote the Wall of Faces there. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, until we get those, another thing that we can do in this interview is we can put the address and the phone number up on the interview, so that way they can, if people have questions or want to call, and then we can also put down the email address up there as well.
Absolutely.
Just to help get some of the word out. And then, because another one of my questions before we get into your personal interview that has to do with the Wall of Faces, if I'm going to go to, let's say, Douglas for the day, and I want to see some interesting sights while I'm there. I know that they had the Armory was there, the Armory building was there. Are there any other like veteran themed or veteran business? I know that you guys have an American Legion there, or VFW.
We sure. Well, we VFW closed a number of years back, but we have the American Legion.
American Legion
is a very good organization. They're very. I'm very proud of them. They really sponsor, or they really concentrate on the veterans.
Okay.
To help out the veterans and reach out. They reach out for the to the veterans with any help they can offer. So.
What about the Armory?
The Armory is not. Used to be very active at one time when the 222 something like that was active. But now it's not that much of a. There's not that much movement going on there.
They don't have the reserve unit there anymore, do they?
No. We do have a park there, the 8th Street Park, which is located right where the Armory is. It's called Veterans Memorial Park. There's an area where we have a fighter jet up there on one of the stands. So.
Oh, wow. So it sounds to me like there's plenty that you could go there and plan a day and go to Douglas and visit around. So I would like to encourage anybody watching this video that if you're looking for something to do, I know we got a lot of people in our area that like to go hiking and like to do stuff like that. So I'd like to encourage them to go to Douglas and spend the day there and look around and get to know the city and the community and meet some of the citizens, and especially our veteran population that's there.
Yes, it's quite a place. It's for a small community. Like I said, it's very military oriented
Uh-huh.
community.
All right. So my first question to you is, what was it that inspired you to join the military, and what branch did you join? You're wearing an Army shirt, so I guess we know what branch.
Yes. Well, back then I had some friends that were joining the army. Some of quite a few of them got drafted. I did come up on the draft lottery with
Okay.
a low number, and I thought, well, maybe I'm gonna get uh, drafted here shortly. I was still in high school. I was, trying to take care of my mom, helping her get through some. She had cancer at the time. Had to drive her up to Tucson a few times to get her some radiation treatments and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that. I was missing some school. I was behind. I thought, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and volunteer for the draft. So I did volunteer. I ended up leaving before I graduated out of school. So I joined the army. I
Were
left.
you living in Douglas at the time?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was living in Douglas. We lived other parts of Arizona, but basically that's where I grew up in Douglas.
Okay.
And I did March '71. I left for the military.
And so what was your MOS when you enlisted?
I basically came in as a wheel vehicle mechanic, but then right after graduation from basic, they asked me if I wanted to become a helicopter mechanic.
Uh-huh.
So I jumped at the opportunity. I thought, great, that's something else that I want to learn. And I did go to Alabama, Fort Rucker, Alabama,
Fort Rucker. Okay.
and trained as a helicopter door gunner. Basically, I started as a mechanic, door gunner, crew chief, and they asked me if I wanted to become a pilot. I thought, wow, that'd be great. The only thing that stopped me from going through the training was my vision. I had to have a
Okay.
perfect vision, so I couldn't make it through the physical, so I just stayed on as a helicopter crew chief, and that's basically what I ended up doing in Vietnam.
And you were in Vietnam for what year to what years?
September '71 to September '72.
Okay.
In fact, I met my whole class up there at Cameron Bay, and I was the only one that went up north with the 101st Assault Helicopter Battalion
Okay.
or Division, and then everybody else went down south with the 1st Aviation. I ended up being assigned to the A Company, 101st Assault Helicopter Battalion with A Company there in Camp Eagle, which was right in Phu outside of Hue.
Right.
And that's where I was for the next, I think maybe 3 or 4 months. That's when the military, I guess, decided, or the government decided to start bringing back the troops, a withdrawal. I was, since aviation was one of the biggest companies that they were using in Vietnam, units, aviation units. They were deploying mainly the other trades, except for aviation. I got reassigned back north. I'm sorry, south, Phu Bai,
Okay.
with the Chinook Company, and that's where I ended up. The rest of the tour flying crew chief and flight engineer is in the Chinooks, CH-47 Chinooks.
It's so interesting because as you're telling your story, I'm flashing back to other relationships and friendships that I've made here at the Warrior Healing Center with Vietnam veterans, and a lot of them share your experience with being helicopter gunner, door gunners, and stuff like that. I don't know if you've connected with our organization here, the Vietnam Veterans of America, VBA, with Bill Beecher or not, but I'd like to. If not, I'd like to hook you up in his direction because there's a lot of Vietnam veterans that are here at the Warrior Healing Center.
No, I'd be interested to see or talk to some of these
Yeah.
veterans, and the I guess every once in a while I run into somebody that was in the same unit that I was. I might have missed them by
Yeah.
a few months and stuff like that. But it's interesting, being volunteer there at the Wall of Faces. We do get a lot of veterans that come in from all over the world, and I've connected with some of them that
That's amazing.
we kind of maybe missed each other up in Vietnam. I did run into. We had a mission once flying in Vietnam. We were flying a mission, and at the end of the day, we decided to land up in. My memory is kind of bad right now, but I think it was Camp Evans, and we landed there to refuel, and we started taking some fire, and pilot yelled at me, "Jump in! We got to move in further." So we moved in. I jumped in, dropped the hose, and moved in further into the base, and they told us, "Hey, we can't. We're not going to go anywhere because we don't have any fuel." So we decided to stay there overnight, and when I did, they sent us, or when they sent us an escort. The escort asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Arizona." "What part of Arizona?" "Douglas." "I think there's a guy from Douglas," he says, "here in Douglas, or here in Vietnam." And I said, "Well, that'd be interesting to see who it was." So sure enough, after we got situated as to the rooms, and we're going to stay, he says, "Let's go have a beer." And he's going to meet us over here. So I did go up there, and lo and behold, there's a friend of mine that went to school in Douglas that I knew. His name was Roman Velasco. And we talked just a few hours, went to sleep, and we left the next morning. As soon as we got up, we refueled, and we left.
Wow.
I lost track of him, but later on, about 10 years later, I think it was in 82, 83, I ran in. I was assigned to Korea. I went to, I went up there, got the train to the, back to where the unit was. And a Korean picked me up and was driving back to the company. And he asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Douglas, Arizona." He said, "I think there's a guy from Arizona here." So lo and behold, it's the same guy, Roman.
Wow.
And I missed him by a day. He had left. He was assigned to Colorado, and I went, since I was working as an administration at the time. I looked out and saw his records there, and I said, "Oh, lo and behold, he's the same guy. I'm from Douglas, Roman."
And that's something.
He was assigned to Colorado. And later on, I said, "Oh, I'm going to try to get hold of this individual, a friend of mine, and see if we can recall the story up from Vietnam
Right.
when we met up there." Unfortunately, a few months later, one of my coworkers there at the Wall of Faces asked me if I had seen a interview on YouTube about a lady that her husband had passed away, and she was kind of nervous or unhappy because she wasn't going to have any friends or any family around for his funeral. So the local American Legion up in Colorado, there where he was stationed at, where he had retired, they went out and asked the community, "Can you please participate in the funeral, help this the widow?" And so they did. They had some friends show up and accompany her through the funeral process. And I got in the YouTube, and I found that story, and it was that same guy, Roman Velasco.
Wow.
I was kind of sad because I didn't get to connect with him again and
Right.
relive some of the stories, on what we did in Vietnam, and But it was kind of sad seeing that
Yeah.
story.
Considering how many times your paths crossed, too. Considering you went all the way over to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've met other local soldiers from Vietnam, like I said. And it's interesting, like I said, as a volunteer there, I talked to individuals and say, oh, well, I was flying too. I was a crew chief, I was a door gunner, I was a pilot, and it's interesting, you know. We've almost missed each other, being in the same units or in Vietnam.
Wow. So how many years did you serve in the Army?
I spent 21 years.
21
in the
years?
military. Yes, I still had 2 or 3 years left of my contract, but I decided I was going to get out and look for another career, and I did. I retired. You know, most of my military friends, officers, senior NCOs wanted me to stay in, you know, because they thought I was a good NCO, and
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I think I'm going to get out. And at the time, they were rifting a lot of military soldiers. So I said, I'm going to try and get out as young as I can and start another career, which I did. And I'm glad I did. I think I made the move at the right time, because I ended up being hired by the U.S. Postal Service. So I spent 45 years with the federal government altogether.
Wow.
21 in the Army and 24 in the Postal Service.
So looking back on your military service, all the different places that you were stationed at, what was your favorite duty station, and what made it your favorite?
I think Fort Huachuca.
Fort
'Cause I
Huachuca,
was
really?
close to
Of all
home.
places?
Of all places,
Fort Wegatcha?
I was very fortunate in a sense that I was in Germany. I'd been in Germany almost. I was there for a 3-year tour, and I was there like maybe 3 months short of 3 years, and my father passed away. So they told me, you're going home on emergency leave, which I didn't have an assignment. Like I said, I was getting close to Dero scene, and so I said, well, you know, if I go home on emergency leave, I'm gonna have to come back to Germany or what? You know, no, they said, just report to Fort Huachuca. I'm sure they can find a job for you. December 78 is when I got assigned to Fort Huachuca. And I stayed there until my retirement. Basically, I left for 2 years, for 2 tours, 2 1-year tours. And that was to Korea and Saudi Arabia. So I was close to home.
Wow.
Basically, I didn't have to go far to go home. So
That's what made it your favorite, being able to see your family and friends. And
yes, sir. I got to work with the garrison commander. I was his chief administrator there, and I really enjoyed it. I had some real good bosses, great bosses. Later on, when I joined the Purple Heart Association here at Fort Huachuca, or here in Sierra Vista, my XO, Colonel Dingwall, was one of the officers with the chapter, the Purple Heart chapter, and he was my XO up at the fort. So I had a real nice tour here in Fort Huachuca.
what was your fondest memory while you were in the military?
Basically, I didn't have one, nothing. I got to see the world. That's, you know, and for being I didn't graduate. I did get my education in the military by going to school. They gave me the opportunity to do, you know, to advance, basically.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed it. That was my 21 years. I don't regret them. I enjoyed it. And if I was to do it again, over again, I would do it.
And what positive experience do you feel that you received from serving in the military that you took into the civilian sector with you?
Basically, my leadership positions. I always volunteered to do things, and I always got the better jobs because
Okay.
I liked volunteering for special positions that put me in a place where I was supervisor, a boss, or whatever.
Okay.
And I practiced good leadership, and I enjoyed working with troops, and that was something that I enjoyed going into the postal service. I wanted to help the younger soldiers, the younger carriers, and but that's what I enjoyed, the responsibility as a young soldier, to lead people and help others.
And did any of your relationships that you developed while you were in like Vietnam or any of these other duty stations that you served at in your 21-year career, do you still keep in touch with those friends today?
Unfortunately, I've tried. There's a couple that I try to go back and try to connect with.
Right.
I found out that they had passed away, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't, because it's a sad feeling, when you're trying
Right.
to find somebody that you served with, especially from the state of Arizona, and because I was, I traveled here in the state of Arizona, so I would stop and try to look for somebody, and if I did find somebody that I was trying to get hold of, they would usually say, "Well, you missed him. He just passed away," or whatever. And I said, "Well, I maybe I just stopped doing it." I lately I wanted to connect with some of my pilots that were wounded at the same time. There was 5 of us that were wounded, and I think I'm gonna see if I can connect with them, see how successful I am. I don't know how, but.
And that's one of the really positive things here at the Warrior Healing Center I was telling you about with the Vietnam Veterans of America, but not only their association that works out of here, but so many veterans that come in, and we all kind of speak the same language, we all kind of understand each other. So it's a great way to make new friendships. And when you're talking with people, you can identify with what they're talking about.
Right.
So after the show today, I would like to, I'll give you all the information of some of our meetings and stuff that we do, and hopefully you'll be able to come and take advantage of that, because I think that you'd really, I think that you would really enjoy talking with some of the other military service members that we have here, and developing and creating new friendships.
Well, yeah, that'd be great. Like I said, I really enjoyed talking to, we talk the same language, like you say, and
Right.
That's what sometimes in Douglas, most of the veterans that had served in the war in Vietnam kind of stick together, and that's what we have in common, the
Right.
war, I guess.
Right.
And talking to some others, it's not that I don't enjoy it, but sometimes you're open and you start talking about your experience in the war in Vietnam or whatever you did, and you enjoy it more with somebody that has something in common with you.
And actually, most of the people that I've talked to, anyways, are more affected about their relationship, not from being in Vietnam, but about how they were treated when they got home, and because it was such a horrible thing that they were doing to our service members, and our Vietnam veterans were just not welcomed home properly like all of our other troops were. And I think that that's another thing our country is trying to do is to make up for that.
Yes, absolutely. I remember here in Fort Huachuca when I was stationed here, I came, I think it was after I came back from Korea in '83 or something like that. I experienced some, even then, after that many years, I put on a Purple Heart plate, and I almost got run off the road going between here and Sierra Vista and Benson. I didn't know what was wrong, but I think it was my Purple Heart,
Right.
that. But lately, things have changed, and it's really amazing, because I've been to stores in Tucson where a young little boy comes up to me and looks at me. We kind of make eye contact when we're looking around, and he looked at me. I looked at him. He just walked straight up to me and says, "Thank you for your service."
Uh-huh.
Oh, I felt great. I mean, I was really honored to, seeing this little boy come up to me and thank me for our service. Things changed. People started treating us better.
Right.
I guess it was because of the Gulf War.
A lot of what happened after 9/11, yeah.
Absolutely, and things changed. Just recently, I guess right after Halloween, I guess it was. This little boy I went to eat in a restaurant up in Tucson. A little boy dressed as a soldier. I looked at him and I kind of felt proud, and I raised my thumb and I went, "Hey,
Right.
And he looks at me, and I was gonna go salute him, in front of his father or grandfather, but I just didn't do it. But it's an honor. I feel very proud, and listening to that phrase, "Thank you for your service," really hits home,
Does Douglas have a Veterans Day parade there in their town?
Yes, they do.
Do they?
It's a very nice parade. They really go out of their way to honor the veterans. Unfortunately, I missed it this year.
Right.
I was up in Phoenix, but yes, they do. They like I said, I feel very proud of the community, and I wish I would have been there this year, but they do. They really go out and honor them.
Yeah, one thing that I'm so impressed by when I participate in these parades, you're going down the road. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the young children, 10, 12, and younger, that are standing at attention or I mean, their parents aren't like standing there telling them, "Hey, do this, hey, do that." They're doing it
out of their own heart.
Out of their own heart, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And it's just so moving and touching to see that. And you'll see the American flag will be coming down the street, and people may be seated. And even if they're not military, you'll see them. They'll all stand.
Right.
And it's just something else.
It's very touching, like I said, and this exhibit that we have in Douglas, it's very very educational. I think for the community. And we do have assemblies in the high school and junior high level where they honor the veteran during the Veterans Day, and that's very nice. They do learn a lot. Like I said, it's very educational.
So share with us, if you would please, what is your favorite thing about living in Cochise County?
I just love it. I was born and raised here. Actually, I was born across the border, and which is one of the things that we learned here in the Veterans Commemoration Project, the exhibit. Said 20% of the faces were non-citizens of the United States when they joined the armed services. So we have a lot of veterans that were born across the border that served here.
Right. Right.
In fact, I was one of them. They told me that I was an illegal alien before they flew me from the induction center to Fort Ord for basic. I had to come back home and get my parents to come and swear in front of a federal judge that I was a U.S. citizen. And sure enough, like I said, my first job was with the military. Other than having the small, gardening jobs and working jobs as a dishwasher. My first job actually was being in the military, and then the postal service. So for being basically being told that I was illegal, my career, 45 years in the federal government, was, it was something, that I tell people. I said, not bad for being an illegal alien. So, but yeah, Cochise County is I've lived here in Sierra Vista. I lived in Douglas. Both communities have really, gone out of their way to honor the veterans now. Like I said, I guess since 9/11,
Yeah.
things kind of changed.
So tell us what we have behind us here on the shelf back here.
I have a SKS, basically a China communist weapon, and it was part of a cache that we went and picked up when I was a helicopter crew chief. Actually, a Chinook when I was in Chinooks, and so we loaded them up. Went to somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but we went to unload them, and I was handed this by, I guess it was an Vietnamese officer, and I hid it behind my the seats there inside the Chinook. And when we landed back in our unit, I pulled it out, and the pilot asked me, "Where'd you get that?" Some guy handed it to me, you know? And he says, "Well, you're gonna have to give it to me. I'm gonna turn it in." I said, "No, sir. I had heard that you could bring back an SKS as a war trophy."
Right.
And they said, he says, "Oh no, you know, he wanted to confiscate it from me." I said, "No, I'm gonna sign it in the arms room. I'm gonna check with the commanding officer." And he said, "Okay, as long as you do that, you know, well, go ahead." So I did. I went and talked to the commanding officer, and I asked him if I was, you know, if I could be allowed to take it back to the States, bring it back to the States. And he says, "Well, as long as you register it," which I did.
Right.
I went to the military police department or company.
I don't know if you guys could see that or not, but here's the registration paperwork on it.
And so I did volunteer, and they said, "Okay, what you have to do is you have to bring it back as a war trophy. You need to weld a bolt and get it registered." I said, "Okay." Well, I got it registered, and I was trying to find somebody that could do the welding, and I couldn't find anybody. So the bolt is not welded. I could fire it actually. It's got a bayonet.
Holy cow!
And
it sure does.
It's sometimes I get this funny feeling because this weapon might have, you know, it probably served against us, you know, and I'm sure it did.
Right.
And so I just keep it at home. I don't. Some veterans have felt uneasy.
Yeah, under here it says under the serial number and identifying mark, it's got the serial number, and then it says Communist China.
Yeah.
25 April 1972. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So basically, I can still fire it. It's you know, I don't touch many weapons since I've been back in Vietnam, but
right.
I do display it every once in a while in certain areas where I'm allowed to. It's I guess it's got sentimental value to me because I brought it. I had other things that I crossbow that I got some mountain yard sheep gave to me. I had some Ho Chi Minh shoes, sandals, what they call, I guess.
So what does this do? This is there like a clip that goes on here?
That's the magazine clip,
And then
you put the rounds.
So how many rounds does this hold? About 5?
It's a single shot.
Single shot?
Yeah, I guess it's a single shot. Maybe 2 or 3 rounds, but you know, I just have the lock there. And,
right.
But I'm not gonna use it. I'm just gonna leave it as it is and probably give it to my grandkids or something that
yeah,
they could. I'm trying to get a little display case that I can put it in there and just. But I'm afraid somebody might break into the house or whatever and steal it, so I keep it hidden.
Oh yeah, I would, because it's valuable. I mean, it's a piece of history.
It is.
You know,
but I you know, I'm proud of it, and of course, like I said, some veterans feel, especially maybe the infantry or whatever, that they have bad memories of it.
And then it says Douglas, Arizona is a Purple Heart city.
Yes, we got proclamation signed by the mayor claiming Douglas is a Purple Heart community.
Okay.
So like I said, we have close to 260, but to date we've identified close to 300.
Then here's a picture of you in uniform.
Mm-hmm. Close to.
I know it's kind of hard to see on here, but one thing that we're asking our veterans to do now for the interviews is to bring in a picture of them in uniform, and then we take a nice photocopy of it, and then we're going to be putting their names and pictures on the walls in here to kind of match up with the interviews and stuff.
Sure.
Do you have any last things that you'd like to share with us about any other volunteering that you do, or do you want to touch any more on the Wall of Faces or any other thing?
The only volunteer work that I've so far I've been involved in is the Wall of Faces. I just spend a lot of time on my horses. That they keep me busy, and
Okay.
like I said, that's my stress reliever, my healing.
Very therapeutic for you.
Very therapeutic. I've been had quite a few horse wrecks, but it's not changed my mind about being my. I get on horseback and I forget about everything. It's therapeutic for me.
Do you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us or anything before we go?
Basically, I want to thank you, your organization here. They, I was a member of the Purple Heart Association here in fact, it was the same building here.
Right.
I attended a few meetings and I think at the time the Wounded Warrior, they told me there was a Wounded Warrior program or organization here. But I never checked into it or decided to come in and see what it was all about.
Right.
But, I thank you, and I'm gonna take your word on it and see if I can connect with some of these veterans and maybe
Yes.
Hopefully it serves as healing and relive old memories and that's things we have in common about the war.
Well, and speaking of that, I don't have any list of events to share with you today, with it being Thanksgiving and everything. It's just been a little busy, and I was off for a couple weeks. So I'm back now, and next Friday when I do my interview, it's going to be at 2 p.m. at 1400 hours. I'm going to be interviewing Brady McManus from Bam Bam Barbecue. And next Friday is our Fun Food Friday. And what we do on the first Friday of the month, our Cooks Club here at the Warrior Healing Center, they get together and they do like a themed type of lunch, and then they put it out. It's free to all veterans and their family. So it's not just for people in Sierra Vista. It's not just for people, here in our area. So anybody that's in Douglas, Tombstone, Bisbee, as long as you can, you can get here. The doors are open. The food is free. You're always going to be greeted with a smile, and you're always going to be welcomed here at the Warrior Healing Center, because this is a place where veterans can come and feel like it's a little bit of a home away from home, and again, connect and develop relationships with other military members.
Oh, great. Like I said, I'd be honored to come in and talk, with some of these fellow veterans and participate and be active in it.
Oh, we'd love to have you. Also, starting in December, when we don't have the Fun Food Friday, the following Fridays, we're going to be doing our hot soups again. And what we do is the Cook Club, again, they prepare different soups each Friday, and veterans and their families members, they come in and just sit down and break bread and talk with people. And
Sure.
I tell you, I love it because I love watching all of these friendships develop. It's amazing to see how this community comes together, comes into this building, and we're all like one big happy family.
Well, that's great. That's
So
great. That's really amazing. That's awesome.
So thank you, Mr. Palmer, once again for
Thank
coming
you.
all the way down from Douglas and sharing your story today. and I would like to do some more, have you back in the future, and we could talk about more about the wall of faces. Maybe we could get some pictures taken, and I could put them in the computer. We could put them up on the screen, and we could share some of the photos and stuff too.
Sure.
And help promote the wall of faces down there, and get people to go down and participate in that.
Well, great. That'd be nice. That would put up our like I said, our city of Douglas people up there. They're pretty. They've been pretty supportive of the
Good.
the wall of faces and our what we've been doing. So.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So we hope that you had a happy Thanksgiving yesterday, and I hope to see you next Friday here for the Fun Food Friday. Again, it starts at 11 o'clock. It goes till 1400 hours. My guest again will be Brady McManus from Bam Bam Barbecue, and my interview next Friday will be at 1400 hours to accommodate his schedule, because Bam Bam is very busy in the mornings doing his breakfast and stuff like that. So I'll be sharing his story next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you next week, everybody. Don't forget, Warrior Healing Center is here for you if you need us. 1838 Paseo, San Luis, here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And the phone number has been scrolling along the bottom here as well. But if you do need to contact us, the phone number here is 520-221-4093. So that's it, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.